Let's do a review of the tools as I make a creative collage. I'm going to start with Create, and I'm going to pick a custom size that is the size of a paper. The first thing I'm going to do is find an element that I want to build off of. Let's say a jalapeno. You have choices between graphics, photos, and videos. I want it to be realistic, so I'm going to look at photos. And I think I want to go for a red jalapeno. If you add more details into your description, you will get more options. I'm going to go for this one, and to see whether or not it has a background, I'm going to go ahead and add a color for the background. That way it's easier to tell if there's a background or not. I want only the red jalapeno. There are a few ways you can do this. The first one can be your eraser. And with Magic Eraser, you have a couple of options. Click is one of the new options where you can select something, but it does take a moment as the computer is picking what to erase for you, and it's using a version of AI to do it. It can give you some elusive effects, but one of the things that's important to know about Click is that it will create a shadow space where you had. I'm going to hit Control Z and look at the other eraser tool. So in my Magic Eraser, I'm picking a brush. A brush is great because you can do a lot in a very little amount of time, and you can always go back in and add more things. And after it finishes erasing, when you click X, you are left with just one jalapeno. To rotate this, you have an icon with two arrows that are spinning in a circle. And I'm going to bring this jalapeno to the middle, and I'm ready to turn it into a character. So I want to get some eyes. For this, it's currently selecting photos because that's what I last had. If I unclick photos, I can find graphics. And if I click see all, I can grab in any eyes that I wish. But this looks a little bit cartoony, and I want to go for realistic eyes. So I'm going to delete that, uncheck graphics, and go back for photos. I really want to have eyes that are wide open. So again, I'm adding more details. I like this one. And in this photo, it does have a background. If you use a background remover, it will take what it perceives the background to be. It's not perfect. It's a version of AI. But if I also want to go back in and say, hey, I want more to erase, the background eraser is a really nice tool because it lets you take away and restore. So if I increase my brush size and I get a little bit wild going as fast as I can, oops, I accidentally just cut off part that I needed. And I'm going to go back to restore and use a smaller brush to get the details that I want. Background remover is a faster tool. It's also a tool that's been around longer, so it has worked out all of the problems. Some of the new erasers are new to Canva and might come with a couple of problems that haven't been troubleshooted yet. So now I have my eyes that I want. I'm going to erase that top part of the eyebrow. Oh, and that little triangle of the forehead. And so when I click X, I now have these eyes and only these eyes. And when I size them down, grabbing a corner, they're too far apart. So one of my options is that I can take this and cut it in half. That's using one of these bars, and what it's really doing is cropping the photo. But I'm going to duplicate the photo, and on this side, I'm going to take just the right eyeball. Now I can control each one individually. So if I wanted one to be bigger and one to be smaller, I can. There are effects that you can do for your photos, but I'm going to leave these just as they are. Again, if I want to rotate, I'm using that 2 arrows in a circle, and there's my eyes for my jalapeno. I want to add in a mouth, and this time I'm going to go for an angry mouth. Now you can get different animals or different features, and you can do similar tools. I like the shark. I think this mouth is pretty awesome. I'm going to go ahead, instead of erasing everything, I'm just going to crop out what I don't really need. That's going to leave me with a little bit of the shark fin on one side that I want to erase. So when I go into my background remover and I double click it to go into it, I am going to just erase this part of the fin and around the mouth of what I don't want. This will also give you kind of a paper cut collage look. And when I click X, I have just the mouth. Now, if I expanded the photo up, you would see the rest of the shark, but it's something I'm not going to worry about right now. If I wanted the mouth to be facing the other way, I can use the flip tool at the top to flip it horizontally. But I'm going to go with this direction, but I want to change the color. Edit tools allow you to do things like adjust your temperature of the photo, adjust the color, you can adjust vibrance, or if you take a look at some of the effects, you can choose different tones. I want to do let's see. If you make a decision that you don't like, don't forget you can always Control Z, or you can click the undo button up here at the top. Control Z is just faster. I'm going to go ahead and change this to a filter. If you click See All, it will open up the entire filters menu. Oh, I do kind of like that, but it's too intense. I'll bring it down to here. And now I have my completed jalapeno. I want to give him a background on a shape. And so this time I'm going to go with a starburst. And again, I don't have graphics or photos selected, but I don't want a photo. So I can look specifically at just the graphics. And I like this star shape here. With graphics, you have color options that you can change to create your own design element to it. I do kind of like that purple. But I'm going to go again back to the original. And now I need to position this behind the jalapeno. You can do this by right-clicking and finding the layer tool where you can send it backward or send it to the back. But another way that you can do this is by clicking on Position and Layers. This shows you all of your image layers inside your design, and you can drag them so that they layer the way you want. I'm going to go with my starburst, turn it a little bit, and I want my jalapeno to get bigger. Instead of going one element at a time to increase size, you can multi-select. If you hold down the Shift key, you can grab more than one element and size those all together. Selecting more than one element will create this white box, and that will also allow you to rotate objects, size them, or skew them and trim them down. I'm going to position it here because I want to put some text next to it. And I'm going to use a text box in the text tool and add the word spicy. With this, I now have all of the font tools. They're only available when you have a text box selected. And I have different fonts up here. They organize them by categories, or you can go through all of the hundreds of fonts. I'm going to look on the display, and in this section, it is easy to get very lost in trying to find the perfect font. The font that I am actually going to go with is called Lost in the South. And if you know a font that you want, you can also type it up here, and it will bring up the font. You can size things with the corner. You can size them up higher with your font size. You can change your color of your font. But something else that is happening is the option to do effects. There are different effects that you can add onto your font, like creating an outline. You can make the outlines thicker. You can change outline color, or if you want shadows. There are always different additional menus in each. I'm going to go with a splice, but instead of that gray, I want it to be bright yellow. And I want it to be behind the eyeball. So I'm going to go into that position and make that eye on top and slide it over a little. So now that I have this, I want to change my background. I'm going to turn it back to white. It was just blue to make it easier to see. And I want an image as the background. If you would like to add an image that takes up the whole space, you need something called a frame. A frame is a reserve spot that will allow you to drag and drop any image in, and I'm going to make this frame the size of the background. And I'm going to add my position, drag it to the back, and then I want this to be fire. I'm going to focus on photos. If I drag a photo in, it will automatically place it. This photo is bigger than the frame, so if I double click it, I can drag the fire back and forth. But I think I want to go with one that's fire at the bottom. Oops. When you hold an image over, it will drop it in place. If you were to drag an image in, oops, that's why Control Z helps. If you were to drag an image in, did it again, or double click, you can do it this way to fill in a space as well. And then of course, just position it so that it goes to the back. Lastly, I want to increase all of this in size, but I don't want to move my background image. You can lock any element by clicking on the lock at the top when the element is selected. So for instance, if I click on the spicy and I lock it, I can now do a multi-select and everything but the spicy and the background were selected because they were locked. To unlock something, you need to click it, go to position. Oh, I'm sorry, they moved that on me. The lock is now over in the top corner. Canva recently did a bunch of updates. So now that I have that ready, I'm going to grab all of these and size them up if it's still locked, and there it's unlocked. Why are you not locking? Unlock. Sometimes technology requires effort and it requires patience. There's the lock. There, okay, now it is unlocked. All right. So here is my spicy jalapeno collage. If I want to save it as an image, I'm going to go to Share, Download, and I want to make it a picture file. And now I have a JPEG image that is downloading of my spicy jalapeno. It'll now be in my downloads folder.